I'm Brian Goldfinger from Goldfinger Injury Lawyers. We'd like to wish you and your family a happy holiday season. Remember, if you're drinking, texting, smoking cannabis, you shouldn't drive, or somebody's going to have to hire my law firm to set things straight. Visit goldfingerlaw.com.
Hello and welcome to the Raptors Reaction Podcast. I'm your host, William Loom, speaking to you after Toronto Raptors lost a very painful game in terms of not the result, really, because, whatever, you lose to Denver on the last game of a road trip. It's whatever. But just the way this game was played, I mean, it was just ugly basketball from start to finish by both teams, honestly. There was not a lot of good playmaking. There was not a lot of good shot making, most importantly. And throw into the fact that the refs were kind of just really allowing a lot of physical play to go. Not biased, really. I just think that they really allowed them to play, and the end result was just a really ugly game where the Nuggets outslugged the Raptors 95-86 in a ode to 2001 basketball right here. So, where do I even begin with this game? The Raptors obviously were very shorthanded. Jonas Valanciunas obviously out. Lowry was out. Fred VanVleet was out to rest, I guess. He's been really balling, but I guess he needed a night off. Who else? No Pascal tonight either. I forgot about that. Pascal's got a back thing. No Norman Powell. So you're taking 5 key rotation players out of that lineup. And, the Raptors just, they went with a makeshift starting lineup. Delon, Wright got the start, and CJ Miles got the start, which is interesting considering CJ Miles shouldn't start for, even a Chinese basketball team at this point, let alone, this one right here in the National Basketball Association. But, okay, so you go with the short lineup, right? And then you're going up against the Nuggets. The Nuggets are also very short-handed, too. No Gary Harris, no Paul Millsap, no Will Barton. Isaiah Thomas is still out, although they knew he was hurt when he got signed. So, whatever. But still, the Nuggets aren't crying any tears for the Raptors' injuries. But, they ended up going with a very large lineup. They got Plumlee out there. They got Jokic out there. That's a very large front court. Again, 2001 basketball right there. And so the Raptors sort of counter with going small. I mean, they don't even have that many power forwards on the roster, which is kind of a concern. I mean, we've seen it repeatedly. The Raptors, outside of, obviously, Pascal, who's been phenomenal. But, without Pascal, the power forward spot is just kind of bare. And whether you're putting CJ Miles out there or OG Anunoby out there, I mean, those two are the biggest reasons why the Raptors lost tonight, outside of the other contextual factors. The two of them combining to shoot 4 of 17 from 3. Now, the thing with this is that, Miles and OG are two of the best shooters the Raptors have. And, it's never a good sign where your best shooters are being left wide open intentionally because, the defense is very confident that your best shooters can't hit shots. And, those two guys, wide open shots. The Nuggets' game plan was very simple. They collapsed the paint. They swarmed Kawhi Leonard at every opportunity. And they were going to dare people to shoot and make open shots. And, you got to give Kawhi credit for continuing to pass to these guys. But they just couldn't do anything, man. And especially in the second half. The Raptors shot 1 of 12 from 3 in the fourth quarter. Nobody could really get to the basket because the Nuggets were literally building a wall. Those kick-out open threes, corner threes for Miles, for OG, all of those were bricking. And every single time they bricked a shot, it sapped more of the life out of the Raptors, who I would say they actually gave pretty good effort. Defensively, they held the Nuggets to 42% shooting and, held them to just 39 points in the first half. And quite honestly, they played with, the Nuggets came out strong in the third quarter, but for the most part, the Raptors kind of held them in check. And Nick Nurse, I thought, did a great job of managing his timeouts and sort of getting his team to respond. And, in the second quarter there, the Raptors really did take a commanding lead at one point. It was 14 points, I think. And, it looked like if the Raptors could just, basically maintain it, continue to play defense, play a half-court game, they'll be all right. But they just completely ran out of gas in the fourth quarter, 14 points. And, again, most of those points, most of those possessions just resulted in guys like OG and Miles getting wide open threes and the missing. You just look up and down the roster tonight. Serge got a transition 3, so that's nice. But CJ 2 of 9, Kawhi 1 of 6, Delon Wright 0 of 4, Danny Green 1 of 4, Boucher came in and got a 3 up. Okay, cool. OG Anunoby 2 of 8, Lorenzo Brown 0 of 2. I mean, it's just an ugly performance. Raptors shot 7 of 35 overall from 3, and that's basically the whole game. Like, if you even make a respectable amount of threes, you hit like 4 more threes, then you win this game. You hit 3 more threes, you win this game, or you tie this game at least. Like, and I'm telling you, like, the most mint wide open threes. And at some point, you do have to worry about, Miles has sort of been a lost cause all year, but the more concerning thing is OG, right? Because last year OG was actually quite solid as a 3-point shooter, hit 38%. A lot of those was because he was in the starting lineup. Maybe he's struggling to transition to the bench lineup. I mean, maybe that's one. Not maybe he's struggling. He's definitely struggling, but maybe part of the struggles is that he's playing with the bench. But also, man, like, I've seen a lot of like hate on Twitter and stuff like that. I mean, it's not hate, it's just frustration, like when you're in a close game and the guy's breaking wide open threes, like, everyone's frustrated. It's understandable, but I just hope that everyone understands that, like, OG's having a really tough year, and like it's not tough for the type of circumstances where, like, oh man, a guy's going through struggles or whatever, like shooting slumps or what, and he is going through a slump, and it is tough in that regard. But it's been a tough year on and off the court for OG. This is obviously not how he planned for his sophomore year to go, and I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that we should be more patient with that, and just trust that the guy who scored 20 points in that Game 3 against Cleveland and actually hit the game-tying shot before LeBron, ended up hitting his game winner, which obviously is all that anyone ever remembers in that game. But, OG was one of the standout performers for the Raptors in the playoffs last year, which isn't saying too much, but for a rookie, that's really impressive. And so I'm sure that ability is still right there, and, I wouldn't judge him based on this stretch. But, yeah, it's been really ugly. I just hope people lay off of him for a little bit. The strangest thing for me with OG is just his free throw shooting, man. I mean, he shot 6 of 20 entering this game. He shot 1 of 4 today. He can't hit free throws. It's weird. He's shooting like 30% on the season, which is, strange. I mean, he was never really a prolific, shooter, either in college or as a rookie, but he was still respectable, like around 70%. And, it's just jarring to see it so low. But as for the rest of the game, I thought Delon Wright had a really positive impact on the game. He got the start with both Lowry and Van Vliet out. Delon started off slow. Actually, Lorenzo Brown was kind of outplaying him for a little stretch, which was wild. But that corrected itself over the course of the game. Delon ends up finishing with 15 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal. Shot 6 of 12 from the field. What I liked about Delon is that he went to the rim just repeatedly, all the time. He just kept attacking the basket, and that's what you want to see out of Delon. That is definitely what you want to see out of Delon, because that's his best asset in terms of his scoring, right? He doesn't really have a mid-range game. He doesn't really have the 3-point game, even though he's shooting a decent percentage this year, although he was 0 for 4 today. But yeah, I mean, Delon's at his best when he can use his athleticism and get to the basket. He's very crafty around the rim. He's a little bit shy of contact. You don't want to see that, but whatever, okay. But at least he makes up for it by being really skillful and really crafty. And this is something that he could do on every night, right? Like, I don't want to see sort of this kind of inconsistent effort from him, because there's a lot of nights where he just fades. And obviously he's not starting every night. He's not getting 38 minutes every night, but I want to see him sort of apply this sort of energy, on games where he's just coming off the bench, because like the bench could really use somebody who could put pressure on the rim, especially right now. I mean, JV's gonna be out for a while. Who knows when Norm comes back, and when he comes back, who knows what kind of form he's in. They need someone to generate pressure at the basket. Monroe is not really cutting it right now. Wright probably has to be that guy. And I just want to see him drive to the basket more often. He's really good when he does it, but he's also incredibly passive. He was all right. Kawhi, obviously, he was really good in the sense that, the Nuggets literally sent four defenders basically at him every single possession. They were cutting him off. And anytime he was going one-on-one, he literally scored every single time. That's how he ended up with 29 points in a game where, they were triple teaming him and quadruple teaming him basically. And I also got to give Kawhi credit for consistently finding the open man, because he would drive, he would see extra bodies, and he would kick it out. And this was even after OG and Miles were sort of clanking everything. Like, Kawhi wasn't taking a lot of selfish shots. Like, he was really trying to pass to these guys. He still got 4 assists. But overall, the Raptors just couldn't make wide open threes. It was so... That's why I said right out top, man. This was one of the most difficult games of the season to watch. Like, it wasn't even like the Raptors getting their ass kicked. It's a combination between them being, super tired and also just super incapable of hitting threes. But, I thought Kawhi did a great job of battling. He's really responded to that challenge. He played 38 minutes. 14 rebounds is a reflection of, having to basically make up for the fact that the Raptors were playing such a small lineup, and it's not by choice. When you don't have Pascal, like, what are you gonna do, right? So Kawhi had to sort of play power forward at times. He had to guard Jokic for basically the entire first half, and Kawhi had to get in there for a lot of rebounds because the Nuggets, had a size advantage, so they were gonna come in and they were gonna get whatever. So for Kawhi to get 14 rebounds really just shows his effort defensively to finish off those possessions. It's just, again, it's a shame that you got to waste these efforts because the rest of the team can't hit shots. But, I thought Kawhi played really well today. He would get the first star, Delon get the second star. And then the third star, I don't even want to hand one out. I mean, Serge had 14 points and 7 rebounds, but, he just got manhandled by Nikola Jokic, which is going to be an issue every single time you got Ibaka in the game. Against these big centers that, generally speaking, JV would be the one handling the situation. Jokic is a little bit special because he does obviously have the outside game down pat. So sometimes, the Raptors would actually just play Ibaka games anyway. But for the most part, against these really, really heavy low post guys, like, Ibaka's just not strong enough to do it. Like, his legs just seem like they can't really hold a lot of weight. You know what I mean? Like, he's not like, how KG was really skinny, but, like, he was also really freaking strong. Like, Ibaka's not like that. Ibaka is just skinny, and he's just, he's good at catching people out by surprise. He's good when he can leap. He's good when he can position himself, but he's not good when a guy's just sort of leaning on him. And it really does sap his energy. I wouldn't say he had a bad defensive game, but it just wasn't what the Raptors needed. And, again, it's just really outside of his abilities, really, because he's not a traditional center, right? And so when you see a traditional center, that's why you have a guy like JV, and that's what Monroe is supposed to do. But Monroe, I mean, I don't know, his conditioning just it's not even his conditioning in the sense that he, like, looks sort of tired or whatever. He just is tired really quickly. So I don't think he has a lot of endurance right now, which is disappointing. But Ibaka kind of got manhandled. So I don't even know who to hand a third star to, really, especially since Ibaka also got a technical foul called on him on his way out the game after he fouled out. He just waved his hand at the referee, and it wasn't even a disrespectful way. It was just kind of like a, I don't agree, and you just, like, pawed the guy. He didn't touch him or anything, and I don't know. The referee just got very sensitive about that and called the tech. But I mean, geez, I guess I'll give it to Ibaka, but it was not a very good game from Ibaka. It was just not a very good game for the Raptors overall. It is one of those games where you got to read too much into it. I mean, between all the injuries and all the missed shots, like, it is what it is. Sometimes you lose. And, I think the Raptors are just tired. They probably want to get home, probably looking at the Christmas, things like that. And when you play Denver on the last game of road trip, you're almost guaranteed to lose. That's what the Nuggets do best. In terms of the Gerald Henderson Award, then, for the Nuggets tonight, I'm going to give that to Torrey Craig, who had 13 points, 4 rebounds, and assists on only 5 of 14 shooting. I thought he was a little bit over-aggressive with his offense, but he just did such a good job of just pressuring Kawhi Leonard all game. I know Kawhi still had 29 points, but Craig really, really made him work. He was in his jersey the whole time, and he's very solid, It would be nice for the Raptors to get a 3-and-D guy like Torrey Craig to just sort of come in and fill a role, because he's actually done a really good job with the Nuggets, and he was just like a two-way guy. He's basically like Lorenzo Brown. He's contributing now, and he hit some threes in the first quarter where I was like, what is going on? Like, that's one of those threes where the Raptors leave them intentionally wide open and they hit them, and it comes back to make a difference in a game where the Raptors also had a lot of guys who were left wide open and they couldn't hit them. So it's not the greatest result, but if you really zoom out, take a look at the bigger picture, the Raptors are 2-2 on this road trip. this was, the toughest road trip of the year. They've already come out west twice now. They played 9 of their road games against the Western Conference already, and they don't actually go past the Central time zone for the rest of the season. There's another 50 games. So, there's another 50 games. So, I guess the Raptors don't really have too many more excuses after this. But still, I mean, when you consider it 2-2, you beat the Clippers, you beat the Warriors, and then you you didn't give your best effort against Portland, but you were competitive in that one, and then you didn't give your best effort against Nuggets, and you were competitive in that one. It's not the worst thing in the world, it does on both times. Really does feel like an effort wasted on Kawhi Leonard's part both times, but I'm sure you'll understand it. It's just one of those nights. Anyway, that does for the podcast. There's 10 things if you're so inclined to read it, chances are you probably don't want to revisit this one. I'm not gonna lie. That does for the podcast. I'll be back on Wednesday when the Raptors play the Pacers. That's gonna be a fun game. It's gonna be a really fun game. So we'll be back after that one.